She has arrived. New Natasha Denona, you guys, is out now. These videos are already starting to pop off. The new Golden collection has just launched, so I picked it up on Sephora on the exclusive day that it launched on the app. Sephora's been shipping fast lately. I haven't even opened this box, but a little bit later in the day. Her launches are usually popular, so I wanted to get this video filmed, and my package just arrived, so let's hop into this. This is now replacing the original gold palette. I never owned the gold palette. I've never tried the gold palette, but I do know the gold palette has thus been discontinued. It was a 15 pan eyeshadow palette, and it did include some gold tones in it, but it also had some teal colors as well, which now appear to be missing in the new golden palette release. This is going to be coming from the perspective of someone who's never tried the original gold palette version. I can't speak to any debate where people are saying like this just isn't the better version. However, that is what Natasha wanted to do, and since all of her releases have been these midi palettes, I think that's what she's going with. Could she have come up with an original color story? Quite possibly. Is this one cool and needed? Also quite possibly. The Yucca palette was one of my favorite releases from Natasha, and I thought it was going to be one of my least favorite. So I think if you guys are neutral lovers, I think we're gonna end up loving this palette. And most of us really like Natasha's formula, so let's get into this. So first off, you guys, this is the outer packaging. It looks like waves. It is plastic, but it looks like it could kind of be metal. She's got it ridged, but it's not ridged so badly that like other palettes don't lay flat on top of it. That was one of the things that I was looking at, was like, is this not flat? Is this gonna be like one of those palettes that are ridged upwards, and so like they're gonna be hard to store? I think she was smart here in making the ridges go inward. It does lay pretty flat, so I think it's gonna be pretty easy to store it. I am just now for the first time opening this color story. I would say a couple of these shimmers do look pretty similar. Some of these matte tones, they're also very similar variations of one another, but they do look different in tone and intensity, and in some cases undertone as well. You can see some of the similarities in two maybe of the beige shades. There's only one real deepening shade, so if you do like to deepen, that's probably the only one that you're going to get out of it. I would say 3 of the more gold shimmers look pretty similar. The 2 on the ends look pretty similar. And then this one right here. This does retail for $69. All of her palettes are retailing for $69 in this size. Let's read what she says here. It says, with overwhelming requests to bring back one of the most loved palettes, Natasha unveils the Golden Eyeshadow Palette, a new and elevated 15-shade version of her previous original Golden palette, featuring new and existing shades in her iconic formulas. So this showcases 7 mattes in Natasha's famous cream and pressed powder finishes, 5 high-shine golden and vivid antique brass metallics, a nude sparkling foiled champagne, a chroma crystal topper with a diamond-like finish, and a gold nude wet effect formula. Let's get into doing live swatches. I thought we would do that in today's video rather than just me swatching it on my arm, so I can talk about feeling texture and all of that good stuff. So I always start on my swatches from left to right and I go across. This very first one is called Milko. I'm pretty sure. This feels like a cream. Yes, it is a matte cream powder off-white is the first shade here, and it's actually pretty nice in this cream formula. This is more like a diffusing shade, so hopefully this like cream powder formula doesn't make it difficult to diffuse a color out, because that's really the only reason that I find shades like this helpful, other than to set the eyes. All right, this next one is Nubia. It is a sparkling foiled gold nude champagne. Here it is. I'm so excited to see whether or not there's like similarities here. Ooh, wow, these swatch good. I swatch a lot of shadows, you guys. That one has like a little bit of sparkle in it, and it's a medium foiledness. It's not completely soft or flat. This next one is called Panna. It's a matte cream powder beige. So in total, it looks like it's just these 2, this one and the first one that I swatched, that are the matte cream or matte powder cream. I like that shade. Like, that's a nice transition shade. I'm still interested to see how some of these other ones compare next to them. All right, so Aria is a matte medium light dusty sand. Definitely a different undertone than the one we just swatched. I'm doing these pretty far apart, and I think I'll have plenty of room down my arm. Okay, it's definitely different. All right, this next one looks pretty similar to ones that we've seen in other palettes, I think, which are like more of a sparkling kind of wet effect, and they're almost translucent. They do not have a strong base. This one is called Fizzy, and it is a sparkling wet effect golden nude. So this one has like very, very little base. Actually, look at that. It's a pretty decent base, but it's very similar like to this one. This one is only like slightly deeper than that one, but it's much softer and it's more sparkly, if that helps. I just want to see some variation here because all we get is like gold or different color toned gold shimmer shades. So like I don't want any of these shimmers to really look the same. Otherwise the looks to me will just look the same every single time. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. All right, Varus is a metallic medium antique brass. Here it is here. This feels like a nice little satin shade. Much flatter, no sparkle, really nice tack to it. This next one is Aura. It's a metallic golden ivory, like the most different probably of all of the shimmers here. This one doesn't like have, I don't know, a lot of tack to it when I'm swatching it. Oh yeah, see how light that is? Especially on my skin tone. There's not a lot there. And it's kind of one of those where you don't pick up a ton of actual product. It kind of feels like you're pressing in the shadow. These are not my favorite kind of shades right here. It just feels like you're kind of making an indent in the shadow, but it's like not picking up a lot, which doesn't have a strong impact on the eye. These shades to me are just a little bit boring. All right, the next one is Teak. It's a matte medium dusty caramel. So against the matte medium light dusty sand. So this is just the medium version of that is kind of what I'm getting. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. So up against this one, look how similar they are. This is light sandy and this is medium sandy. How many variations of brown can you do? I don't know. Those two shades look like they're gonna come out identical on my skin tone, on my eye. That seems like a little bit of a waste to me. Feel like you could have maybe thrown in another deep shade and taken that one out. So far, these are my thoughts. I'm thinking as I'm going, you guys. Hopefully it's helpful. Okay, Kava is a sparkling champagne gold. This is again one of those that just like presses in, but this one looks a lot more sparkly. It's like very similar to that white one, where again, it doesn't have like strong base to it. Bit more intensity in the sparkles than the white one. I don't always love shimmers like this where they don't have a ton of texture. So for example, this one in this corner and then this one that I just swatched. They're just so light. They are mostly sparkle. I just don't know if I'm a fan of that formula from Natasha overall. I would much prefer a shimmer like this than these two that aren't as intense. All right, Sandstone is a matte medium ochre. That one was a little falling apart on me. It's another pretty warm tone. I want to see again how similar is it to the other browns. It's warmer. Yeah, it's definitely a warmer tone, but these three, 1, 2, 3. I don't know how different they're going to end up looking on the eyes. They're different undertones. This one seems warmer than the medium sand. Makes sense for the name of the shade. Let's go to the next one, which is Orium. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Metallic muted gold. I like the shimmers like this more. I would have liked to have seen more shades like this than the sparkly ones without very much base. Like, look how much that's meshing in with my skin tone. But this shimmer, so nice. So different than this one, which is a nice formula overall. This is also pretty nice. Like, this isn't a shade I could see myself wearing all over. It is a metallic, but it's like a satin metallic. All right, this is the deep matte shade. It's Log. Matte dark brown. This one feels so much harder pressed in the pan than the other ones. I'm really pushing my finger in here to get this to come up, and it faded so quickly. All right, this is gonna end up being a more buildable deep matte shade. Just by swatching it, I can already tell it's not going to be super intense, I don't think. I think you're going to have to build it. All right, Oro is a metallic warm gold. This one actually looks really different compared to the other ones. This is another really nice, I think like satin metallic shade, the kind that just has like a lot of stick to it. This next one is Flesh, a matte light warm nude. It doesn't look super warm in the pan, so we'll see what it ends up looking like on my swatch. Yeah, it's pretty warm toned. I actually like that one. It appears way more different than the other three that are super similar. It's lighter and it's definitely distinctly more warm. We have one last shade to go. It's Alchemist, which is a metallic brass. Ooh, I like the feeling of this. Again, this is one of those like super creamy, almost like satin metallics. That's nice. So here are my initial thoughts. I think 3 of the dusty sand shades, very similar. I could see them coming out almost identical on my eye, probably almost on anyone's skin tone. I don't love that. I feel like 2 of those shades are probably going to be repetitive and won't be necessary. However, they're nice transition shades. What I think I would have done in place of that is give you a different, deeper outer corner shade, because those 3 are very likely going to be used as transition shades for anybody building an eye look. I am not mad at the differences in the shimmers though. I feel like there's enough here that you're getting a variation as much as you can for something in the golden color family. And generally I find the distinct difference in the shimmers can change the eye look oftentimes much more than the matte shades can. I don't know how many variations of looks we're probably going to get from different creators, because this is a very, very, very neutral color story. So a bunch of people are probably going to do fairly similar things, especially if they're going for that deep shade and trying to build depth in the outer corner to show you that this palette can go pretty deep. So I don't know how different a look I will get to create today, but I'm pretty sure I know what I want to do. So let's start off with doing the eye look on the palette, and then we will get into the highlighter trio and the gloss to complete the look. I'm going to set this all over the lid as like a base, and then I'm going to go into one of the matte shades. Actually, I'm probably going to take this one right here, the very first like sandy shade that we swatched. And I'm not sure which shimmer I'm going to pick yet, but this shade is definitely going in the outer corner. So let's get at least the base of this started, and then I can decide which shade I want to go in terms of the shimmer. I would even like to see like how does this lay down with just a finger, because it doesn't pick up on a brush incredibly well like the fluffy one that I was using. It's actually, I think, better applied with the finger just because it's a creamier formula. I think it's actually a nice setting shade though. Like set the lid and powder all in one. All right, I'm going into Aria and just going all over. This is going to be such a neutral look. The best thing about this palette is probably going to be you can wear it every single day. I will say that the Xenon palette was the only palette I feel like I regret purchasing personally. I understand that there are people that like those tones and have use for tones like that, but holistically as a palette for me, the Xenon palette was just not shades that I reach for all the time, where Natasha's doing very nice things in the neutral category that still keeps us excited, I think, that maybe are even a little bit different. So for example, the Yucca palette was really fun, the retro palette, the I Need a Nude palette was really good, and a lot more coppery tones in that palette, I just hit the table, than in this one. So my initial thinking of this palette is going to be, if we wanted something nude and wearable, yet still somewhat exciting with cute packaging, and she's discontinued that gold palette that everybody loved, then I think it was a good idea to launch this. But I also think I'm going to personally get a lot of use out of it and enjoy it and not find it a palette that I just purchased to review the way that I did the Xenon palette. If you guys were thinking about picking up this palette, I hope that maybe that perspective helps you just a little bit. All right, what shimmer should we use? Should we go like super brassy, but the warm gold is like even more intense? I'm swatching this yellow one again, and it's so pretty in person. It's just not that intense. It really isn't. I love this Veris shade as like an all over. Like you could totally wear this shade all on its own and like nothing else and just buff it out. This is a great everyday shade, is it not? For a one and done. Ooh, I think I'm really gonna like that one. I don't want to use that for this look. I've been swatching some of the other ones just like on the corner here to get an idea. And this one right here is like the most like yellow. That's the Oro shade that's in the middle. Let me show you guys. That I think would have contrast, between some of the colors that I'm using instead of it just kind of blending together. I think this would pop so much more because it's the goldest in the palette. So we're gonna use it. I'm using it. I want to use my finger because it's gonna pop the most. I will clean it up when I'm done. I'm just over here making a hot mess. Woo! Sun is going down. All right, you guys, I'm going into log in the outer corner with a really fluffy brush. I don't think this needs to be super precise, so we're not going super precise. It's such a buildable shade, just like I anticipated. It's not super intense right away. Mind you, I'm also using a pretty fluffy brush, but it's also like very impacted by this warm tone shade that it's going on top of. It seems so much more cool toned, I think swatched out and looking in the pan, that I'm looking at it here and I'm like, it looks a lot more warm toned. It's just not super intensely pigmented, and laying on top of a warmer toned shade is maybe what's doing that. Okay, now I'm actually going to take a tighter brush, one like this, and I want to deepen it up even more, like down here. I am taking it pretty deep, but I am having to really build this up to get it that way, and that's your only deepening shade too. So I will say I took a warm tone transition, a cool tone outer corner, and probably a pretty warm tone shimmer. Interesting combo. Let me go throw on some foundation and I will be right back. Okay, you guys, I threw in the waterline from Make Beauty. It's the Continuum Waterproof Gel Eyeliner in Otherworld. It's like gold and I thought it would look good. This just isn't a really strong eye pencil, but I think it will be fine. So let's finish up the eye look. One thing I just noticed is like, I don't know if you can see it, there's like 1,000 fingerprints on this palette because it is reflective. That's exactly what's gonna happen. All right, I'm going to take that deep shade in Log, my outer corner deep shade, for the lower lash line today. And I don't think I'm gonna do anything more difficult than just start it deeper and like smoke it inward. I'm just not feeling like a lot on the lower lash line. I don't know why. All right, lower lash line mascara, my Maybelline Sky High. Okay, I am all done with the eye look. I'm going to reserve my final thoughts until the very end. Let's move on to the Golden Highlighter Trio. So the packaging itself is identical to the palette. The grooves go inward so you can still store things like on top of it without it like getting caught, which is really nice. This one retails for well, there you go. These ones are not magnetic like the eyeshadow palette. They're just, you saw it here. You saw it here. Is the other one in danger? At least they didn't break out of the pan. They're still solid. Well, okay. You piece of crap. Who was responsible for gluing this is what I want to know. I've never had a Natasha Denona product ever do that to me. That is crazy. They must have been putting these together so quickly. Like, what in the hell was that about? All right, well, I'll hold these two shades. Highlighting palette itself retails for $55. Now, I understand the $69 price point for an eyeshadow palette that comes with 15 pans. I get it. It's been the price of all of her palettes. I've never had an issue with $69. I think for Natasha's quality, how everyday wearable and neutral the shades can be, but I think 55 bucks for the highlighter for me was like a little bit difficult to swallow. Same thing with the gloss. We are in the 20s, high 20s, or low 30s for a lot of lip products right now, but I feel like I would have loved to have seen it like $25. That would have been nice. All right, let's talk about this highlighting palette. So it is the highlighter trio that is the multi-use hybrid cheek glow palette, which features 3 captivating universal highlighter shades that can be used on the cheeks, lips, and eyes. Okay. Debuting a new innovative hydrating hybrid formula enriched with active ingredients. So I've actually already read the description on this and I was thinking, is this like the High Glam face palette that came out? Because that had the hybrid gel formula as well. It says it's this unique gummy gel powder delivers an extremely high foiled finish. And it's the hybrid gel powder that effortlessly glides onto the skin, providing luminous multi-dimensional shine. The cushiony and creamy texture transforms into a weightless layer of high shine radiance upon application, and each shade can be used on all skin tones to illuminate the high points of the face, eyelids, collarbones, and lips for an all-over sun-kissed glow. I probably will not put this on my lips, and I'm gonna have to re-glue these if I want to use it at all. all moving forward, but let's swatch these out. So, oh wow. You guys, this feels so good. Like the creaminess of this feels so much better than the face palette that came out. Like if it's the same formula, this is creamier. All right, let's go into Sun Glow. Oh, this feels so delicious. I am not gonna lie, I am so excited for this formula. Let's do bronze. My gosh, you guys, it feels like wet. It feels like water, way more than a highlighter I've ever swatched before. And I've swatched a lot of products. That felt so good. Wow. If you could use this as eyeshadows, oh, that was so delicious. I put bronzer and blush down so that we could try this deeper shade on the forehead as like a glowy bronzer. It is really deep though. I think it's a nice stretch of shades here. Where usually I feel like highlighting palettes like miss something, I don't feel there's a shade or a tone in here that's missing anything. But I thought I would at least test these for you guys so that you could see it in case, you know, so at least I can get like all of these shades on. I am gonna throw the bronze on the forehead and see how this comes out. Well, it's pretty deep and it's pretty glowy, but I think I can get away with it without it looking absolutely horrendous. I don't hate it. I'm not a huge fan of highlighting palette because generally highlighting palettes are made for across multiple skin tones and you cannot always use all the shades, even if a palette calls itself a universal highlighting product. I kind of feel similarly about blush palettes, but not quite as much because blush palettes I feel like can be much more universal than say highlighting palette, in my personal opinion. Okay, if you go in with a really light layer, it doesn't look bad, so I feel like I can get away with it. I just went and closed the window because there's no sense in looking at the reflection of the lighting in here. I don't know if this is like something that I will find use in. I wanted to show you guys. I would probably won't wear this on its own in this way. So this shade, at least for me, is going to be completely useless. I will not end up reaching for this in my personal life. Now let's go into Pearl with just a Real Techniques. I want to say this is like a setting brush probably for under the eyes that I love for highlighter. And let's throw Pearl on, which is the lightest of the shades. So sparkly is what I'm getting. Initially, this just kind of looks really sparkly. Not the most smooth highlighter formula once it goes on. It's blending out okay, but it feels like it's kind of just sitting there and I'm not able to move it all that well once I place it onto the cheeks. It's taking quite a bit of extra effort, I feel like, to move it around. I don't think that's a really super smooth formula. All right, I'm gonna clean my tool off and I'm gonna go into Sun Glow on the left-hand side. These are pretty darn sparkly. It's almost hard to see them. Like, I think you guys have a better angle than I do. I don't like the highlighters. I can't even see it showing up until I turn a certain direction. I don't like the highlighters. I have so many other very impressive highlighter formulas in my collection. This really doesn't rank for me. This doesn't compare. Close up, it looks really sparkly. I'm gonna zoom you guys in. Like, you can see all my little texture and my peach fuzz and everything. But this just looks sparkly to me. Like, not necessarily wet looking in a really nice flattering way. Even though this swatched fantastically, I have so many other highlighters and so many other formulas that I feel like are better than this. I wasn't overly impressed with this formula. I could have done without this, and because it fell apart and because it was $55 jiggling around in there, I would probably like these as eyeshadows, like all over. I could see them being very nice. Just wasn't impressed as a highlighter formula. Let's go into the Golden Shimmer Gloss next. So this is a lip plumper, which I didn't realize. It says Shimmery Lip Plumper. I told you guys this retails for $29. It's the Innovative Clear Oil Gloss formula. So now we know it's like a hybrid that illuminates the lips with iridescent golden sparkles while delivering the benefits of a hydrating oil. A hybrid shimmering lip plumper subtly tingles to give you the lips visible volume and high shine, a mirror finish, leaving them with noticeably plumped effect. Here is the packaging. Let's let it focus so you guys can see the sparkles in there. I personally am a huge fan of shimmery and glittery lip glosses, so I was excited to get this. The only thing I'm worried is that it's going to come out just a little bit frosty on the lips, and it might be something that you would want to lay down like a matte lip first before you put this on, but I want to wear this just on bare lips so that you guys can see. So it's a pretty smooth formula. It feels, what I have come to understand, is a lip oil / gloss formula, like the in-between amount of oiliness and glossiness. And I hope that makes sense to you guys, but I feel like if you've tried a hybrid lip product, like oil gloss lip product, then you know what I mean by it feels like what I have come to understand is kind of like that hybrid formula. Okay, a lot less glimmer in it than I expected. It's not a very dense glitter. It's pretty spread out. I would say that there's more shine than there is sparkle here. It smells like sunscreen. Coconut, that's what it smells like. It smells like a coconut sunscreen. Not just coconut, but like a coconut sunscreen, like something we put on in the 90s as kids. It's very pleasant. I'm waiting for the plumping effect. I like the way that it feels. It's not overly thick, but it's a pretty high shine. And I don't think the sparkles are rough. Some of the glimmer glosses, shimmer glosses, and or even glitter glosses, sometimes they're too rough, and when I like go like this with my lips, sometimes they can hurt. They're not very strong and not very big, and it's not uncomfortable. The plumping is beginning to happen. It's a hot plump. It's not a cool plump. It's starting to burn the shit out of me because I am not a huge fan of the hot plump. Okay, it's plumping, it's hot, it hurts. Ow, it hurts. Oh, it's intense. It's getting there. Whoo, shit. I think it's about to make my eyes start watering. Okay, well, now you guys know it's a lip plumper, and I don't think that was clear right away. So if you guys are not into lip plumpers, you're probably not going to want to try this. I feel like it's starting to get all, ooh, you guys, it's spicy. Ooh, shit, it's hot. It's hot. Okay. Ooh. I don't think I'm going to find a personal use out of this because I don't typically go for lip plumpers because I don't find that they actually do anything. I don't ever notice like a visible difference. If you guys do and you don't mind like a spicy ass gloss, then go for it. But this feels like it's burning me, like literally drying me out, burning me. I'm not enjoying this sensation overall. Let me give you my final thoughts on everything. If you haven't already guessed, the palette, if you like golds, I think it's fine. It's Natasha's normal formula. It's $69. It's a 15 pan. I think if you like golds, you also have to like warm tones because you get one cool tone out of this, and that's it. It's a beautiful everyday palette. Probably again, one of those palettes I will keep on my vanity, and if I want something gold, I don't have to think. I will just be able to grab it and put a look together and go out the door. That's what I'm finding a lot with Natasha's palettes. Even when they're the Yucca palette that has green in them, I still feel like they're very everyday shades. They're also an everyday formula. Everything here is great, and I don't think she threw in too many creams. I often find in her palettes, some of my favorite shades are the cream shades because of the color, but they're not my favorite formula. I get a little resentful at the fact that my favorite shades didn't end up being shades that I like for building in the outer corner, or they're just not as easy to work with as I would like. I don't find that this powder cream form, are my lips really plumping? You guys, I actually think that they're getting bigger. Oh, this top one, it literally feels like it's a chapped lip. That's how it feels. It feels like it chapped my lips, but I really do feel like it just made them bigger. You guys tell me in the comments whether or not you think my lips just got bigger. Anyway, back to the palette. The only ones that I really didn't like in terms of formula are these ones right here. These two that I swatched are just like this softer formula that I'm not a huge fan of. They're more like toppers for me from Natasha. I would buy this palette again though. I feel like this does add something to my collection, and it's not a color story I have 300 times, but I think if you like it, you're going to need to like warm tones. That's it. And you're only going to be able to deepen with like that shade right there. And if deepening for you is not a huge deal, then I think it's an even better palette. However, I do feel like those three warm tones are very, very similar. That's my take on that. Skip the highlighter palette if you're somebody who has really good highlighter formulas already in your collection, because I don't think that's unique. I think it's a little bit sparkly. It's not my favorite. It's not the smoothest, and it's 55 bucks, and you saw it just fall the hell apart on my table. And do not buy this unless you want your lips to feel chapped. Those are my final thoughts on everything, you guys. I always love to hear your comments, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on this review of the new release from Natasha Denona. I am out of here, you guys, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye. Okay. I had to come back, you guys. Look at this lip. Look at this top lip. It looks like I got injectables. I've never had a plumping gloss actually plump me like this before. So if you guys like plumping glosses, oh my goodness. Do you see how swollen they are right now? Okay, look at that, you guys. Look at the top lip. It's like bigger than the bottom lip. Why is it plumping my top lip? I feel like I'm having an allergic reaction. Anyway, now I'm gone. Look at that top lip. It looks like I just had an allergic reaction to something, doesn't it? Use at your own risk. I'm out of here for real this time. Bye for now.